Imposter syndrome versus actual bad leadership. What's the difference? Let's discuss it today. You're lying awake at night wondering if you're actually terrible at your job. Your bad boss's criticism keeps replaying in your mind, and you're starting to think maybe they're right. Maybe you don't belong in this role. Maybe everyone can see that you're a fraud. But here's the question that changes everything. Are you actually struggling, or is your bad boss making you believe you are? Today, we're going to untangle imposter syndrome apart from gaslighting, because knowing the difference might save your career and your sanity. Understanding imposter syndrome, this is when you genuinely are competent or even excellent at your job, but you feel like a fraud anyway. You attribute your success to luck, timing, or fooling people rather than your actual skills. This is actually incredibly common, especially among high achievers. The key thing about real imposter syndrome is that it exists independent of external feedback. You could win awards, get promoted, and have colleagues praise you, and you'd still feel like you're faking it. If you finish a successful project and think, I just got lucky with the timing, or anyone could have done that, you receive positive feedback but immediately discount it. If you're terrified someone will discover you don't know what you're doing, even though objectively you're performing well, the distortion is coming from inside your own head, not from the environment around you. That is your internal voice undermining you, even when external reality says you are doing fine. Understanding gaslighting from bad leadership, let's talk about what happens when you have a bad boss who's actively undermining your confidence. This is not imposter syndrome. This is someone manipulating your perception of reality to make you doubt yourself. Bad bosses do this for a lot of reasons. Sometimes it is deliberate to keep you insecure and easier to control. Sometimes it's unconscious because they're threatened by your competence. Either way, the result is the same. You start questioning your judgment, your abilities, and your value. Gaslighting from a bad boss looks like this. They give you vague or contradictory instructions, then criticize you for not reading their mind. They take credit for your work, but blame you publicly for any problems. They move the goalposts constantly so you can never quite succeed by their standards, and they tell you you're too sensitive when you raise legitimate concerns. They deny saying things you clearly remember them saying, and they compare you unfavorably to others or to some impossible standard. This isn't you having self-doubt. This is someone actively planting doubt in you. So how do you know which one you're dealing with? The test is look at the track record before this boss and outside of your interactions with this boss. If you've generally been successful, if other people recognize your competence, if you can point to concrete achievements, then what you're experiencing probably isn't imposter syndrome. It's more likely that your boss is distorting your self-perception. Ask yourself these questions. Do other people, besides your boss, validate your work? When you're away from your boss, do you feel more confident? Can you identify specific, measurable ways your boss's expectations are unreasonable or constantly shifting? Do you find yourself explaining or defending yourself constantly in ways you never had to before? If you're answering yes to these questions, you're probably not an imposter. You're probably being gaslit by someone who benefits from your self-doubt. Here is another tell. Imposter syndrome makes you work harder to prove yourself. Gaslighting makes you feel like working harder won't matter because the rules keep changing. With imposter syndrome, you fear being exposed. With gaslighting, you fear you're going crazy because your reality doesn't match what you're being told. The first is about self-perception. The second is about someone else controlling your perception. Now, what are we going to do about all this? If you've realized that your bad boss is gaslighting you and making you doubt your abilities that you actually have, here's what you need to do. First, start keeping a record. Document your achievements, positive feedback from others, and measurable results that you have produced. When your internal voice says that you're failing, you can look at objective evidence that says otherwise. This is not about ego. It's about anchoring yourself to reality when someone is trying to distort it. Second, you can find external validators. Talk to trusted colleagues, mentors, or friends in your industry. You can get perspective from people who aren't inside your boss's reality distortion field. You need other voices to counteract the constant criticism. Third, recognize that your boss's assessment of you might say more about them than about you. Insecure leaders often try to diminish the people around them. It makes them feel bigger. Finally, understand that you can't fix this by being better at your job. If your boss is gaslighting you, improving your performance won't stop it, because it was never really about your performance. It was about control. That means your solution isn't to work harder or to prove yourself more. Your solution is to protect your self-perception and plan your exit strategy. The cruelest thing a bad boss can do is make you doubt your own competence when you're actually good at what you do. If you've been wondering whether you belong in your field, I want you to really examine whether that doubt is yours or whether it's been given to you. Look at the evidence, trust your track record, and remember that someone else's inability to see your value doesn't diminish your value. It just means you're working for the wrong person. You are probably not an imposter. You're just stuck with a bad boss that makes you think that you are. I hope that some of this was helpful. See you on the other episodes.